friends, and welcome back into my studio. If you are new here, my name is Tammy Ernest and I am a long arm quilter, and here on my channel I like to share customer finishes as well as my own personal projects. I am so excited. It's June, it's into summertime. I know it's not the official summer yet. It feels like it here. It's in the high 80s and I absolutely love it. I told my husband this morning, I love being hot rather than being cold. But really enjoying the weather. But I also just love all the projects that go along with summertime. I love being outside. I've been working, oh, do you remember my blue truck that I got last year? I've been working on planting some hostas, and I've done a big hydrangea bush, not so big yet, but it'll get there, and been working on some mulch around that. So I'll share that soon. Just stay tuned. In the next couple weeks, once I get it at least to a nice starting position, I'll share that with you. But I love being out in the garden, love being outside. When the grandkids have been over, we sat on the porch and swung on the porch or had them playing out in the yard, and I'm just enjoying it so much. But I just love all the Americana type of stuff. That's just my jam, I guess. But if you get my weekly newsletter, if you don't, you'll want to sign up down below. But my weekly newsletter, I shared for Memorial Day, I shared a picture of a quilt on an old red truck, and this was a big red truck that we used to have in our pumpkin patch. We would use it for different things. We'd actually do gourd slingshot, where we would sling gourds into it and try to make it in there. And then we did for a while like an old grain cart. Anyway, that's not. But anyway, I took a picture. This is from many years ago, and I included that picture in my newsletter when I was talking about Memorial Day. And I had a couple questions asking, what pattern is that? So I went and found it and thought I'd share it with you today. This is a perfect pattern for you to get started on for the summertime if you're not already doing a lot of other Americana stuff. This is a great one for Quilts of Valor as well, if you would like to work on a Quilts of Valor project. So this is the printout, and the reason I'm showing you this is a free PDF. I will put the link down below, and this is called Old Glory for Dean, and you can print this off, and the website that this sends you to, there are several other free PDFs. There's at least one other Americana quilt like this that's a little different, but this is the actual pattern of the one I shared in my Memorial Day picture. And again, the picture was from several years ago, but I shared this again in my newsletter just a couple weeks ago and had the question about where the pattern was from. So it's called Old Glory for Dean. It's not a complicated pattern. You've got your star blocks, and then you can see your red and white ones are just sections of fabric. The quilt measures 64 by 80. Just a super fun quilt. So if you saw my newsletter and are wondering how to get that pattern, I will link that down below so that you can start on a fun patriotic quilt. And I'm also got another patriotic quilt going along. I am doing the Scrappy Americana flag quilt from Lori Holt. Fat Quarter Shop is sponsoring this quilt along, and so I wanted to share the blocks. These are actually my May blocks. This is just, you're making this is a year-long quilt along, so it goes, well, not quite a year. It started in May, it will finish next February, but it doesn't take a big time commitment. So this time we did the 4-patch stripe block, and I'll show you mine. I didn't bring a board to put them on, at least not a small one. Super simple. This was strip pieced, so you were doing the two fabrics together, then subcutting those, and then making it. I love it that it's so the way this goes into the quilt, you can see from a distance, it just looks like red stripes. And when you get in closer, you realize that they're all pieced blocks. And I just love that. It's kind of the values are very similar. And so from a distance, that appears like a solid color, but it's a pieced block. Love these fabrics. These are Lori's new Americana fabric line. So several of these are the same. Are they all the same? Let me see. I made these several weeks ago. So all the reds are the same. And then all of the low volume creamy white ones are the same, meaning it's the same two fabrics in them. So you strip piece these rows together, and then, like I said, subcut them and then join them into the 4-patch. Super simple. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There were 6 of each of those. So just making 12 blocks, and these were small. So this next month here, June, it says June 13th, we are making the pinwheel stripe blocks, and so that's coming up just here in a little bit. So this kit is still available if you want to get the kit. If you just want to get the pattern and use your scrappy reds, whites, and blues that you have in your stash, that would be a great idea too. It's not too late to get started on this one and to work on another patriotic project during these summer months. You know, I just love the summer months. And the Liberty Box, if you have not pre-ordered your Liberty Box, get in there quick and do that. I haven't looked today to see whether those are sold out, but if there's still time, you'll want to reserve your Liberty Box. That is very similar to the Sew Sampler box. I'm going to show you that came, and that is the May box. But it is all, the Liberty Box is all patriotic themed. So there should be, if normal, there'll be a pre-cut, a pattern, and then other great notions and little novelty things that go along with patriotic theme. And so you'll want to reserve yours today. It is at a cheaper price if you reserve it prior to knowing what's in it. If they have boxes available once it's revealed, then you may be able to get it, no guarantee, but there may be some extra boxes left afterwards, after the reveal comes, that you could then purchase the box, but then it's at a higher price because it's no longer a mystery. So you get a deal because it's a mystery. So you'll want to check that out. I will link that down below so that you can check on that. So let's look at the Sew Sampler box. I have not had much of a chance. I kind of looked at it real quick and then put it back away so that I could film with you. I have not really dug in and done much looking at this at all. So this month, actually this is May, so I'm a week behind. This is called Cottage Garden, is the theme of the box this month. And you're gonna love these fabrics. I have not purchased any of this line yet. So this is Corey Yoder's A Bloom line. How soft and pretty. So delicate, just in time for summer. And so you can see kind of the coral. I don't want to take this apart because it's just so nice. I like how they package this in the, just like this clear wrapper. But this is a Jolly Bar. So Jolly Bars are exclusive to the Fat Quarter Shop. They are 5 by 10-inch squares. And you can see all the pretty colors. And this A Bloom line. Corey is doing so much with this fabric line. She's got new fabrics, or she's got new patterns out that use it. There are different quilt-alongs going on using it. It's just an absolutely gorgeous line. So excited to get my hands on that. So that is a Jolly Bar. And then the pattern that they include with it is called, how do you say that? Is that gâteau? Gâteau. I know it's an O at the end. That's a French word, but gâteau. That's how I would pronounce it. All right, so notice in the pattern you're using the Jolly Bar, but see those blocks in the middle? That uses something else they included in the box, and that is the A Bloom quilt panel. So this is like a cheater print. So your blocks are already done. Notice up close they are like cross-stitched. Isn't that so cute? And so you would subcut this into the squares that you need to then use in the pattern that they provided. So you're using the Jolly Bar that came, the panel. You just need some background border fabric and binding, and obviously your backing fabric. There is a Fat Quarter Shop exclusive backing, and I'll link that down below so that you can have ready access to that. But isn't that fun? This quilt measures 53 by 70. I like the size of that. Now in looking at this, it does not use all of the cheater panel print. So this one uses 12 of the cheater ones. And in my calculations, let me look at it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there are 20 cheater blocks. Are any of them repeated? Told you I haven't had much of a chance to pull this out and look at it. Let me just see real fast. Any of them repeated? It does not look like it. Looks like they are all different ones. So you could choose, if you're doing that pattern, you could choose 12 of your favorite ones that you like, and then you would have 8 more to do something else with. Perhaps you want to make a larger quilt. If you're wanting it even larger, just adjust your yardage and the fabrics that you would need to make it even larger. So that's a great idea. Then also, if you know Jolly Bars, you know that they're 5 by 10 inch squares, which is what I said. But if you buy a Jolly Bar, you automatically get a pattern. And so they've also included that pattern in the box. And this is called Walk This Way. And look at that. I like that one. I really do. This was 63 by 83. It uses 2 Jolly Bars, so if you're only doing one, you would need, it would not make as big of a quilt. And then that is most of the fabric. You just need, where's the fabric requirements? Background fabric, and then just a tiny little amount of cornerstones in the middle border. So you can see this darker border right here, and then there are little cornerstones in between the blocks, and so just a little bit of that one. So every Jolly Bar that you buy comes with a pattern with it, so that is really cute. I really like that pattern there. And those are all by Corey Yoder. All right, then some of the notions in this month's box. Fewer notions this time because we've got another whole panel that was included in the box. So we have these quilt notes. This is by Karen K. Buckley. This is 48 pages of graph paper. Perfect size for sticking in your purse. If you're like me and you're out and about and you're sitting at lunch one time and suddenly get an idea about a quilt pattern, you could sketch it out right there, or just other notes. You know, it's kind of like a bullet journal type thing. There are lots of other tidbits of information here on the front and the back cover. Mattress sizes, fun square facts like if you have if you're cutting 1.5 inch squares, how many can you get out of a width of fabric? A cut of width of fabric. How many could you get out of a fat quarter? How many you could get out of a 1 yard? And it goes from 1 inch all the way down to 10 inch squares if you were doing those. Standard batting sizes, standard quilt sizes, and then on the back side has acronyms for quilters. Some of these were kind of a shock. I didn't know all those. Some of them, you know, like WIPs, we know that one. BOM, meaning block of the month. A quilt along I always do as QAL. I don't even see that one on here, but they have some others that UFO, unfinished object, but others that I hadn't seen before, so you'll want to check that out as well. Yardage chart, how many inches is 1/8 of a yard, how many inches is 3/4 of a yard, and those things. Strip cuts from 1/2 and 1 yard. So if you're just cutting strips, how many strips can you get out of 1/2 a yard? Those kind of things. And then popular pre-cuts. Honey buns, it explains what those are. Mini charm squares, jelly rolls, all of those. So if you've ever had a question about that, you have all that information right there in your hands. A nice size booklet. This is 48 pages, it says, plus it's cute artwork on there as well. So great size for sticking in your purse. Then we have premium woven labels, perfect to add an extra touch of personalization to your sewing projects. These are done by Minky Kim, and these are so cute. These really match Corey's line very nicely. So just little labels you could put in. Here, one that it's a heart, front and back. I see these really nicely on project bags. I think they would be really cute additions to project bags, especially that one. That one looks like floss. The little floss cards, yeah. Here is a strawberry. Here is a little embroidery hoop. Super cute. Love the scissors as well. I think these would be great additions to project bags. Homemade, handmade, I said that wrong, handmade. And then the last one, good vibes always, and it has the little pin at the top. Super cute. I love those. So whatever projects or whatever products I'm showing to you today, if I can find links for them, I will include those down below. Or if there is an a la carte box, meaning they have some boxes left over, again, it's like the Liberty box. If you get it after the fact that it's already come out, it is at a little higher price, but still a great value for all of the different products that you receive in the box. Finally, in the box this month is the second installment of our flowering quilt along. This one is called This'll Be a Beautiful Day block. Now, the fabrics that they used are Summertime from Camille Roskelley. If you remember, I am not doing that. I am instead using the line. I brought my block from last month. This was the block from last month. And if you remember last month, I didn't quite have mine done. I'd shown it in pieces, so I brought it with me this time. And I'm using the line called Things Above. This is by Stephanie Slowinski of Fancy That Design House. I say it every time I mention her, but I really love her stuff. So this is my block from last month. So notice, this being a mystery, I'm just picking fabrics, and I hope that they all, I'm using all the same line, so I know all the fabrics will go together, but not knowing the exact layout and how these are going to go together. And I'm using totally different colors. Like this was red and green, and I chose this brown and aqua color. So this time, being more greens and aquas, I'll have to see what I pick out. I don't know. Haven't even thought about it yet. But second installment of that. If you're enjoying that flowering quilt along, it really is worth it to get it in the box and not buy those patterns separately. They're pretty expensive if you're buying one block for that amount. So it's best to do that inside the box and get all of these other great goodies as well. So Sampler Box, it is a subscription that comes once a month, and I love getting this little surprise in the mail each time it comes. And I will link it down below if you'd like to get in and get your own sent to you each month. Then, okay, one more thing. I was looking at my notes there. One more thing I wanted to share with you prior to moving on to customer quilts this week is my Quilt Circle membership. So if you've heard me talk about this, this is a membership for quilters who are isolated. Maybe you don't have a group that you can meet with in person, whatever, for physical reasons, timing reasons, you're not able to get to a local guild in your area. This group is for you. This is an online group where you will find encouragement, inspiration, you'll find community. If you don't have any sewing buddies, this is the best place to join up and have a great time with other sewing buddies. So this is a completely online guild, although we are planning our first in-person retreat for this fall. But this is an online guild. It is held on a private platform called Circle, and thus I get the name Quilt Circle. And so inside, what do we do inside here? So inside Quilt Circle, we have chats going on all the time. You're welcome to post pictures of what you're looking on, pictures of what you're working on, pictures of what you finished. You are able to post questions to other members, get their advice on colors, or ask what patterns, or we talk about sales that we hear of and all that kind of thing. So there's plenty of chats on there, very similar to what you might find on Facebook, but this is totally private. Only those people in Quilt Circle membership have access to it. There's no ads or anything like that on, so a very streamlined platform. As long as you have a phone or an iPad or a computer, you're able to join in. So those chats are going on all of the time. We do have a guest speaker once a month. We also have a monthly meeting where we just get together and talk about all the different aspects that are going on each month. I do a feature each month called Longarm Live, and this is just an hour long where I open up a Zoom call and anybody that wants to ask questions about longarm quilting. And so completely member-led. I don't have any pre-planned questions. They just come and they ask questions. It can be from me. I don't have all the answers. I can share what I know and from my experience, but there's many other longarm quilters in the group that are able to help out with those questions as well. So I do that each month. And then we have a live show and tell each month where all the members bring projects that they're working on, and it's their time to shine. Very similar to how I show customer quilts here, they're able to show their projects online. So a very, very fun group to be a part of. Now, I hope it doesn't sound overwhelming. It's not. There's usually one event going on each week. Everything is recorded except for the guest speaker, because that's intellectual property. I'm not allowed to record those get-togethers, but everything else inside Quilt Circle is recorded. So if you're not able to join live, you can watch the recording later, which is a great feature. Then we have special projects we're working on together. If members want to join in, they're welcome. If they don't, no problem. This year we have a whip challenge going on where the members created a type of bingo board. and they filled in whatever whips they have that they want to work on this year. And then each month I call 2 coordinates on that whip board, and they are able to pick those and work on those. It has been probably the biggest hit in Quilt Circle this year. The, I won't say pressure, but the excitement that the members show in like, okay, what do I get to work on this month has been a lot of fun. We also do a Quilts of Valor initiative. Again, if members want to join in, they're welcome. Some members will make blocks, other members will quilt the quilt, other members will bind the quilt. It's a group effort, and we have already presented several Quilts of Valor quilts to deserving veterans, and that's always been a very big highlight inside Quilt Circle. We have a current quilt along going on. I've not shared much about that on here, but we are doing Camille Roskelly's pattern, from her Shine On book, which was the Quilt Bee sampler. We're working on that right now. We also have a cross stitch, a stitch along going on, and that's been a lot of fun. That was a new feature added this year. So there's a lot going on. You're able to be involved in as much or as little as you want to. You're able to join live if you want to, or if you're one of those that just wants to sit back and kind of see what everybody else is doing, you're welcome to watch the recordings later. So good news is I am opening up Quilt Circle the end of this month. It will be open June 27th, 28th, and 29th. I do have a wait list started, so if you want to be notified when that opens up, then click the link down below, add your name to the wait list, and you will get emails on June 27th, first thing in the morning, that it's now open and you're able to join. So it's only going to be open for those 3 days, and then I'll close the cart down again and probably won't open it up again until late fall. So if you're wanting to get in on that, if that sounds like a group that you would like to be involved in, there are, you can pay for it monthly or you can pay for it yearly. It's your choice. There is a deeper discount if you do it on a yearly basis, but that's totally up to you. You're able to cancel at any time, but it's been a great group. One of the reasons that we are wanting to do an in-person retreat is because we've gotten to know each other so well. We really want to get together now, because we know each other, but we don't know each other. You know, we've never met in person, so we're looking forward to that as well. But again, everything is optional. What you want to join in on. If you're one of those that just wants to work on your own projects, but you want to share them with other people, or you want somebody that you can ask questions of. Earlier this week, we had a monthly meeting, and we were talking about rotary cutters, and we were talking about how to clean our cutting mats, and what were some of the other topics? All different kinds of things, you know, and it's just, you know, members are asking questions of one another, and what do you do about this? Today we were talking about storage. How do you store your scraps, or what projects are you using your scraps with? And it's just a lot of fun. So if that sounds like something you would like to be a part of, then click the link down in the description box that says Quilt Circle membership wait list. You will be put on that, where you'll receive emails letting you know when that is open, and all of those emails at the end of the month when they come, that'll have all the price and everything, all the other information you need to know about that. If you have other questions, go ahead and send me an email and I'll be happy to answer those in the meantime. But we look forward to that at the end of June. And then right as soon as that closes, the very next day, I'll do a new member event where we'll get on a Zoom call and I'll explain how everything works, kind of get you up to speed and help you to get into the group and ease your way in so you don't get overwhelmed there at first. So if that sounds like something fun, we'd love to have you join us. All right, let's move on to customer quilts today. Teresa sent me 4 beautiful quilts. You're going to love every one of these. This first one that you see right here, the pattern is called To the Point. That is a Betsy Chutchian pattern. It is a PDF download that you can print off. When you buy, you can print it off. It does come in 2 colorways and in 2 sizes. So the pattern comes in a 51 by 51 and also a 76 by 76 size. And Teresa has done the larger one, the 76 by 76 size. and gives all the fabric requirements on the back of the pattern. So you want to take a look at that. The fabrics featured in this pattern, and also on Teresa's quilt is the line Lydia's Lace. That is also done by Betsy Chutchian. Now the fabric line has some pinks in it as well. Now you can notice on the pattern that at least on the pattern front, the larger quilt is done in more of the pinks and the browns, and the smaller quilt is done in the blues and the browns. But what Teresa did the blues and the browns in the larger size. So this is all part of Lydia's Lace, that fabric line, but pulling out certain colors to do this color quilt, and then you could make a second one with the pink ones. But in a medallion style quilt, you start in the center. What that means is that you're starting in the center, and it's almost like concentric circles, squares. It's radiating out from there. So instead of a grid pattern, we're starting with a center medallion, and we're building out and around that. So you can see the star in the middle, and then some smaller squares. You can see the star there. I love how the star feeds into the border. Do you see that? Pieced into the border. Very fun. Now that, again, is on all four sides. You could stop the quilt right there, and that may be, no, it goes on out. So the actual quilt, it's the same quilt, different sizes. So it's not like you're just making a smaller quilt by leaving off everything from there, stopping it here and leaving off everything else. The pattern is doing the same quilt in two different sizes. So, but if you just wanted a wall hanging or a small table topper, you could actually stop the pattern right after this, the border here, the border right there. But then around the outside, then we have some more stars all the way around. I love the colors. I love the blues and the browns. And then you have, and those stars are set on point blocks. You can kind of see right here. You can see how it's set on point, and then a larger border all the way around. Love that big brown border. So pretty. Let me show you the backing fabric on this one. And the backing fabric is also from that Lydia's Lace line, but this is in the darker blue. Don't you like that? The darker blue with all the browns, the lighter blues on front. You do have a little bit of that darker blue right there in the center of the quilt, but I think that is super, super pretty. Very reproduction feel, just the whole Civil War type reproduction, which is what Betsy Chutchian is known for. The pantograph on this one, so Teresa said she wanted something traditional design. And so I sent that out to my business buddies, and I said, when a client says traditional designs, what do you think of? And one of my business buddies sent this one back, and I wish I had a bigger picture of this one, but let me just make it as small as I can. This is a printout of the patterns that are on Prostitcher. And so this is one of the patterns that is on Prostitcher, and this is called Field of Flowers. I'll get in very close so you can see that one. Field of Flowers. And doesn't that just complement this quilt so nicely? So this is on Prostitcher. If you have Prostitcher, you don't need to buy it. It is already on there. This is under the continuous line designs. So when you open up Prostitcher and you'll open up on your C drive and it'll say designs, then it'll have it'll say block designs, or it'll say continuous line, and I click on the continuous line, and these are all ones that can be repeated. They hook together. It's not just one block. So that is what Field of Flowers looks like, and it's going to be very difficult to see it on this quilt because the pattern matches the fabric so well. The color of the fabric, or the color of the thread, blends very nicely as well. So just know that it complemented that quilt very nicely. Now the thread color I used on this one is 3007. How about I grab that so you can see it? So the 3007 is this color here, and see how well it blends in with those fabrics. It's a very, a little darker taupe color, which is very much the tone of this quilt. That compared to the cream, you can see how much lighter the cream is. So, I mean, not terribly different, but And if all you had was cream, I think cream would work fine. But because I have an array of from creams all the way up to a tan color, I like to really try to match it. And the cream is just a tad bit lighter, so I felt going with that one. Now I do have another one, this beige, which is 3068. So let me line these up. So cream is on the left, the 3007, which I used on this quilt, is in the middle, and then the darkest one is 3068, which is beige, and I do use that one on one of Teresa's other quilts. So if you are only going to start out with a couple of colors of thread, I would do cream, I would do off-white, and I would do light gray. If you're wanting to do some more colors, then you can add in these others. It's not necessary. It's just how close you want to match the quilt top. Cream will work on so many things, and if it doesn't, then light, the off-white would work, or the light gray. But here are some second options if you're wanting to get a little darker or a little more precise in matching the quilt top. So I really felt like that 3007 was a very, very nice match for this quilt. So like I said, Teresa's quilt was the larger size. It measures 76 by 76. I did use the Field of Flowers, which is a Prostitcher design. All of her quilts have Quilter's Dream 80/20 batting inside of them. And it's just beautiful. So that's Teresa's first quilt, and I can't wait to show you the second one. You got a good look at those larger pictures of this one, because this one's very beautiful laid out. This one's called Tannenbaum. Tannenbaum is, I believe, the German word for Christmas tree. And so this is a pattern done by Laundry Basket Quilts. It's absolutely beautiful. You can buy just the pattern, but you can also buy a kit. You can buy the kit and the pattern. You can buy the backing with the kit. There's lots of options there. But you have piecing in this quilt. You also have some applique. I do, with the baskets, you can see the branches and the berries. There's also some of that up here on this one. You can see this line of applique as well. And a lot of times laundry basket quilts will have these where you can buy this as a set, where these are already pre-cut for you, and which is a very nice feature. Then all you have to do is applique them down. Teresa has done just a tiny little zigzag stitch around the edges of the applique, and it almost looks like it's a monofilament thread where I cannot see the stitching. I could just barely see it, but it blends in so nicely with all of the colors, which makes me think it's a monofilament thread. So if you've never tried monofilament thread, it is a clear. You can buy it in clear or in a smoke color, which is more of a black color. When I've done applique with monofilament thread, I will actually use a cotton on the bottom, like a white Aurifil or something, whatever I'm matching on the bottom. As long as your tension is fairly good, you're not going to see any of that cotton pop through to the top. But my purpose in using a monofilament thread is so that I didn't have to change thread color every time I changed. So doing the darker maroon color circle here, I didn't have to change to that thread color. Doing the brown vines, I didn't have to change that thread color. Just using a monofilament thread keeps the focus on the applique itself and not so much the stitching. I normally do a buttonhole stitch. It does look like she's done a zigzag stitch. Either one is fine because that thread just blends right in there. So with this quilt, you're having applique, you're having very tight piecing, and then you're putting those into, you can see how you have this triangle piece here to create that whole Christmas tree effect. You've got a star at the top also. This quilt measures 46 by 64, and she says she used scraps from her stash for making the quilt, but it obviously is all laundry basket quilt fabric is what it looks like to me. The background fabric that she's used behind the tree is the same that she has used on the backing, and it's a taupey color, but it has just these spots of the light pink on there as well, and I'm assuming that's a laundry basket quilt. fabric line. The pantograph on this one is called Feather Meander, and kind of a classic kind of type design also. So you have your basic feather shape, you have your backbone with the feather shapes on both sides of it. We see that feather shape come in a lot of times on Moulin Rouge and on espresso, not maybe espresso, Giggle, some of those that Adore maybe has it too, where you have a spiral and you have that feather type motif on the back of a spiral. But this one is the full feather. So you've got your whole backbone and then the feather shapes. It does echo that around once, does a little bit of the feather, most of the feather on the other side. Kicks out a little swirl here with just the feather on the top of that swirl, but then the feather here. So it's a feather meander, meaning we're working across the quilt kind of in a meander shape. This is one that you could do freehand if you practice your feathers. Feathers are probably one of those harder designs to do free motion. Once you get it, there's a couple different ways to do it, but it's one of those muscle movements that you really need to work on a marker board or practicing first before doing it on a quilt. There's a couple different ways to do the feather shape, and I won't go over that here. You can follow those that are teaching that and help you to learn that shape. But just to get a nice feather shape can be a little bit difficult and takes some practice there. But you do your backbone and then you do your meander, or you do your backbone and then you do your feather stitch one side or the other. There's lots of variations in that as well. So for the thread color on this one, I did use the 3068, and let me show you that one. So this is the 3068. I showed you that on the previous quilt, and this was the 3007, which I used on the Betsy Chutchian quilt, and then this was the cream color. So you can see the variation there. This one, I felt like this one matched a little better. 3068 is called beige, and that's the one I used on this one. And again, because I have the 3 different shades, I even have an almond color that is in there too. But because I have the 3 different shades, 4 different shades, I can make it a little more specific, but a cream color would have worked on this as well. So very, very pretty. I love that feather meander. That's a pretty classic design too. So if you have, a Civil War reproduction type of quilt, laundry basket ones, this feather really goes well with all of those fabric lines. So very pretty quilt, Teresa, and you've got to see her third one. Teresa's third quilt is just beautiful. This one is called Flock Party. Here is the copy of the pattern. And this one actually is a free PDF that you can print off. This is done by Dear Stella. You can see that name at the top. You can see the colorways on this quilt. And then notice that Teresa has done them in some patriotic prints. And so we'll call this one a patriotic flock party. How do you like that? So cute. Now she says the fabrics that she used on these were ones from her stash. I think a Minnick & Simpson line would look very nice. If you're looking for a patriotic line, they've got a current one out that would be very pretty. But any patriotic line that you would want to use. Let me look at the fabric requirements on this. It uses 5/8 of a yard, quarter, half, 2/3, 2/3, and this is in the free PDF. When you print this off, this does have some the Dear Stella fabric suggestions that they do. But Teresa says she's used scraps from her stash, and they're all patriotic. So some stars. The background prints are all different as well, but they're all low volume. So this one's red and white polka dots. This one's a little more of a flowery one. This one's blue. This one's red. And then she's put the the flock or the chickens, the hens on top of those, very cute. The sashing is kind of a little bit of a mottled light blue with the yellow cornerstones, very cute because that ties in with the yellow beaks on the hens. And then the fabric around the edge is this cute line, just a crosshatch type of little dots, but then you have the American flags and the little blue flowers. Very, very pretty. Very fun. So then the backing, let me flip this over so you can see the back as well. So this is the back of Teresa's quilt. So this reminds me very much of a jelly roll type, a jelly roll race type of quilt, but she's done that on the back. So just, these are all 2.5-inch strips. It's all fabric that were already on the front of the quilt. She's done them in long strips and just joined them. Different spots in the back. Sometimes you have a full length like this blue. Other times she's combining two. A lot of times it's 2 or 3 different, like this one has 3 different fabrics in there. So very nice. And then the top and the bottom, she does have a larger piece of the blue. Not very large. I mean, it's probably an 8-inch strip at both the top and the bottom. That one is, oh, here it is. That fabric is called Documentaries by Greta, Lynn, and that is done by Benartex. That is what that fabric line is. So any patriotic line. I love that she's done this. You know, a lot of times you'll see a jelly roll race just as its own quilt with a solid backing on it, but she's kind of done that same type of design and then put it on the back of the hen quilt or the flock party quilt. The pantograph on this one is called Ribbon Star, and so let me bring it in here. So a ribbon star, it has a star shape with just a probably about 3/4 of a circle around the star, and then it's doing 2 at a time, 2 rows at a time in a zigzag fashion. So it comes down, does the star down here, does like 3/4 of the way around. You know, you could do the math. How many would that be with 5 stars, and it's hitting all 5 but not connecting it at the end. And then it comes up here, does this star, does 3/4, 5/8, I don't know what it is, of that circle, and then does that. So it's doing it 2 rows at a time, but like in a zigzag fashion. No fussy points to match up. The circle of 1 just does, comes up into the negative space of the circle above it, below it. And the pantograph, I would say 1 star is about 2.5 inches. So the entire pantograph is probably set at 5, a height of 5 there. Did use the Omni Cream color on this one. I like that. Let me look for sure. Yeah, I did use the Omni Cream. You could have done white. I felt like these background prints were a little creamier than a brighter white. And a cream will kind of blend in more with your colors, your reds and your blues. And a white could have worked as well, but for this one I just felt like the cream kind of blended in more with these colors and not stood out quite as much, and you really get to see those fabrics. They were very pretty to look at as well. So this final quilt measures 57 by 69. Again, that is a free pattern. I have linked that down below, so you'll want to print that out. It is a really cute pattern, and whatever fabric lines, maybe whatever your kitchen is done in or your favorite fabric line, would be a great pattern to print out. So you'll want to get a hold of that one. So great job, Teresa. I really like that quilt. And Teresa's 4th quilt is just as beautiful as the first 3. This one is called Trick of the Card. This is done by Terri Degenkolb. That is of Whimsicals. And she said she got the fabric and the book at an auction. And a lot of times guilds will do auctions once a year where people bring projects and quilting related items that they don't want anymore, and then they donate those to the guild. The guild then does an auction with all those items, and all the money that's produced or all the money that's raised then is used for programs for the guild. So she said she bought this at an auction, from a quilt group auctions fundraiser, and the book is called If Quilts Could Talk, and this is done by Whimsicals. Here is a picture of the front. No, that's the. Here is a picture of the front of the book. So I think like 2009, something like that. So you may have to go on eBay or, look at your friend's stash to see if they have this in their stash somewhere. I like it because there's some wording in here. You can see these are some of the quilts, and the one that Terri made is this, or the one that Teresa made is this one right here. But I love the wording and the different patterns: smile, family, dream, imagine. Very cute. The applique that's in there. I just think these are really darling quilts. Very fun. All right. So if you can find that one, those are pictures of it. I was not able to find a link to it, or I was able to find a link, but there wasn't any in stock. So that's how I was able to print off those pictures there. So the fabric is unknown because it was all purchased as a kit and with the book along at this auction. So card trick is the block that you're seeing here, and then it's turned on point with the sashing that is then done on point. Is very beautiful. The fabric is really nice as well. Grays and browns. The low volume is a creamy white color. So card trick looks complicated because it looks like your 4 pieces are all coming together, and how does that work? So your middle block is actually an hourglass block, meaning I have 4 different prints all coming together. So if I have 2 squares, I layer them on top of, and I've shown you this before with some other things that I've worked on, but you layer 2 squares, you stitch a 1/4 inch on either side of that diagonal, you cut those apart, and then if you do that with 2 other prints as well, then you can swap. I have a block over here that has 2 prints. I have a block over here that has 2 prints. I then layer those on top of each other, stitch on either side of diagonal, and cut it apart, and I get an hourglass block that has all 4 units in it. So then, like this block here, so it takes some planning. This block here has the brown on one. So if you can think of this as quadrants, it has the brown on one quadrant, the white on one quadrant, and then this green is taking up the other half of that. And again, it's an hourglass block. You're doing the same thing. This one is just a half square triangle. This one is an hourglass block that has the slate blue and the white, and then half of it is the brown. This is a half square triangle. This one here is an hourglass block where it's a quarter, and then a half of that one. So then when you put all of those together and that hourglass block in the middle that has all 4 on it, that's how you're creating that, where it looks like they're overlapping each other or they're laying on the table that way. Very pretty, very pretty. And Teresa's done an excellent job on her points, and it all looks excellent. She's got a couple borders around the outside, so a darker one here, a lighter one here, and then notice the outside border is all 5-inch squares all the way around. Very pretty. I like this. The backing fabric on this one is from Basic Gray. This is their Hits the Spot line. Now this does come as yardage. It also comes as 108-inch backings, wide backings. So I've linked this down below just as a general search. Whatever color you're needing, it comes in every color. I believe this is in the eggshell. It comes in a white on white, reds, blues, greens, grays, whatever color you're needing. So it does come in regular yardage, but then also in the wide backings, which is a great product, if you're looking for wide backings and needing a certain color. So it does have just the smallest dots on it, polka dots. They're fairly faint. You can see it a little bit better on camera, but just that kind of the grunge behind it, obviously, and then with the polka dots, and it's called Hits the Spot. The pantograph on this one, we used espresso. Kind of very tight swirls. It does the ribbon, and just loops and loops and swirls that cover over each other, that flip back on each other. So it just looks like this ribbon just going all across the quilt. On this one, I did use the Omni cream color. These colors are a little darker, a little muted. I didn't want to go with one of the darker colors that I used before because of this fabric here is much lighter. And I didn't want to make that very dark. So the cream color blended nicely. It wasn't too dark on the whiter parts of this, the lighter parts of this, but blends really nicely. Just gives a nice soft feel to this one. Again, a good one to use on reproduction type colors, these muted darker browns, just a very soft color palette, very pleasing, very soothing color palette. So very nice. This one measures 52 by 76. So if you are able to find that Whimsicals book, it would be a great pattern. I really like the patterns in that book. Really nice. So those are Teresa's 4 quilts, and they are just absolutely gorgeous. She did a great job on all 4 of them. Susan's quilt is the Moda Blockheads 5. This was from September 2023 into 2024. Moda Blockheads consist of 30 blocks, and these are done by the designers for Moda. So each of the designers will develop a block or design a block, and then those are released once a week, and so then you use that block to make as many blocks as you want. There's 30 total, but Susan used 12 of the blocks, so you can pick and choose the ones that you want. And she did this, the fabrics she used are Betsy Chutchian's Amelia's Blues, Zen Chic's Bluish lines, and also some true blue fabrics from Maureen Cracknell. So she used what she had and put them all together. Doesn't it look so pretty with the blues and the yellows, the low volumes even. These are some white with blue in there, or white with just a very pale blue there. So the setting she used, though, is a little different. She did the 2019 Designer Mystery Block of the Month, the setting that the Fat Quarter Shop put out. So you can buy just the setting instructions, and whether you did this block of the month or not, you can buy just the setting instructions, just the finishing instructions, I want to say, and then you can put in the blocks that you want, and that's exactly what Susan has done here. So the 12 blocks that she did are all around the outside edge, and then the rest of that is you're creating this inner block then in the colors that you like, and that matches the rest of the blocks. So the Designer Mystery blocks are actually the 12. You have 3 on each side. So 3, 3, 3, and 3. And then the block in the middle, the large one in the middle. And then also the corner blocks here. Those are all created separately. Very, very pretty. And I don't know, I should have looked before I got on here. The size of these blocks, they may be like 12-inch blocks. That may be the standard is 12-inch blocks. I should have looked and I didn't. But then that would work for any pattern that you do. You do a block of the month or a mystery quilt that has 12-inch blocks, and you can fit it into a pattern like this. So just looking at the finishing instructions, even if you don't do all the other blocks that are in there. Moda Blockheads is free. You can get on there even for this one, which was the 2023 one. They have all 30 patterns there. You can click on it and then print out just the ones that you like. Some of them are foundation paper, it looked like. Others are traditional piecing, but just a great way to learn new blocks if you're beginning, or just to create your own scrappy quilt or your own cohesive quilt like Susan has done here. Very, very pretty. So the middle block here is made up of these stars set on point, and then you have this one. Now the block itself finishes right here, and so you can see from the instructions that it's not set on point. It's one big block in the middle, and then those 12-inch blocks are all around the edges. And then on the outside, she has done the borders. I love the yellow and in the lighter blue. And then every corner has a block in the corner as well. And those are all the same for hers. And then the darker blue around for the outside edge, just very pretty. And then all of these blocks right here are the same all the way around the quilt, this corner section here. And then it starts, then this is one of the Moda Blockheads blocks, and you have 3 of those down the side, 3 across the bottom, and 3 across the top, and then also on the other side. So you can see the Moda Blockheads blocks right there. There's one, and then there is another one right there, and a third one right here, and then that is the corner block with the churn dash block in the corner. Very pretty. All right, I'm going to flip this over so I can show you the backing as well. So the very first block that is on the Moda Blockheads 5, when you pull it up and when you click on the link and pull it up, Moda Blockheads 5, the very first block is the signature block or autograph block. And Susan has made that one and put it on the back, and then she's added sashing on either side of that to complete the pieced part of her backing. Then she's done 2 different backing materials, this one a little larger print, this one a little smaller print, and just beautiful. It makes the back of the quilt just as pretty as the front. The pantograph on this one is called Citrine, and let's see if I can pull this in so you can see. Citrine has very much of a feather design, a little bit of a swirl. The swirl is a chunky swirl where there's no sharp points on it. It's very nice and flowy. The feather type part of it you can see here and echoes itself, and there's a spiral right here that is just that very chunky spiral, no tight points, so it really keeps it nice and flowy. And Susan does like tight quilting. I didn't make this super small because we got a lot of smaller pieces on here. So you can see the size of the pantograph starts here, ends here. So, you know, the span of my hand pretty much. And I did use the cream color thread on this one, the Omni Cream. And just blends really nicely with all of those colors. It just reminds me of fine china or something with the blue and the yellow pattern. So she's done a great job of mixing lines together, all the different blues. Most of it is reproduction, but you can see in a couple different spots using some of that Zen Chic line where you've got a little more modern, but it works together so nicely. She did such a nice job on her quilt. Very, very pretty. This one measures for the final quilt, if you're using this setting pattern, the 2019 Designer Mystery Finishing Instructions, it measures 84 by 84. I also did want to mention that Susan sent me her own batting, and this is warm and natural batting inside here. It is in the natural color. She just sent me the instructions from the back so that I could see what it was. But warm and natural. I really like warm and natural. Warm and natural and Quilter's Dream are kind of neck and neck there. I like both of them very much. I've always carried Quilter's Dream here in my shop or in my studio because Quilter's Dream allowed me to buy smaller amounts when I was first starting out and didn't need huge rolls of batting. I was able to purchase from Quilter's Dream with a wholesale account and I could buy one batting if I needed to, or I could call and I'd say, fill up a box, you know, some of these sizes and some of these sizes. I now buy it by the roll. Usually I have several orders in there at a time, just waiting for that next roll to come in, make sure I stay ahead of myself. Or stay ahead of the quilts. But I've never carried warm and natural because it was always available at the box stores very easily to get a hold of. And a lot of times people could use coupons to buy the warm and natural at their local box store. And so I could not give that same price as what you could find with a coupon at your box store. Now that whole kind of thing has changed now. Joann's has now gone out of business, and I know a lot of people are getting warm and natural there. I would just like to hear your comments down below whether you think I should start carrying warm and natural now as well. It's not as easily for others to get a hold of. It is a very nice batting, and I know others really like it compared to Quilter's Dream. They have advantages and disadvantages, both of them, I think. But Warm and Natural is one that I really like. And now that it's not as available for others to get in their own local quilt stores or local shops close to them, I have been considering carrying that in my own studio here. So I'd love to hear your comments down below, whether that would be something that you would be interested in if I carried it. And just to give another option and compared to the Quilter's Dream. So let me know what you think about that down below. So Susan's quilt, 84 by 84, Moda Blockheads 5. She used a combination of blues from her stash, and then she used the setting instructions from the 2019 Designer Mystery from the Fat Quarter Shop, and I have included all of those links down below. So everything that I talk about, if I can find a link for you, then you can go down below this video and it'll say more. You click on more and it'll drop down a whole list of things. So if you see a pattern, if you see fabrics that you like, always check there. And some of them are affiliate links. If I have an affiliate link, if I don't, then I just link the website that you can go to find it. But an affiliate link doesn't cost you any more money. It's just a way to reimburse me for my time in looking for those links. And so, so if I have those, I do include those. But just for your convenience, if you see a pattern that you really like and you want to make it, I would encourage you to check down below the video so that you can see the links that are there and you can get straight to them and begin making your own beautiful quilt. All right, let's move on to Susan's second quilt. Susan's second quilt is, she calls it Flying Over Grassy Creek. It's actually Grassy Creek by Bonnie Hunter, and this was Bonnie Hunter's the mystery quilt along that she does over the holidays. This was from November of 2020 to January of 2021. So Bonnie Hunter, every year starting around Thanksgiving time, she will release clues. Once a week is what I believe it is, and you're making, I don't know, 100 of these blocks right here or 50 of these blocks right here. And then at the end, in January, she'll show you how to put all of those together to create a beautiful quilt like this. You don't know from the beginning what it's going to be, but every one of them is super scrappy, lots of piecing, very intricate, but an absolutely beautiful quilt. Then once that finishes in January of each year, she bundles that together and puts it as a pattern. So you are able to purchase this pattern. If you do it along during the time that she's running that mystery quilt along, then there's no charge. You can download those for free. So this is Grassy Creek, done from November 2020 to January of 2021. And Susan said she made her own tweaks to it, but this is what the PDF pattern looks like, and I have linked that down below. Super cute. Oh my goodness. I've never done one of Bonnie Hunter's quilts, but I think they can be kind of cumbersome, but everybody that I talk to, they're so worth it when you finish it. So sometimes you can get lost in the weeds or lost in the piecing in the middle of it, and it feels like a lot of work. But then when you get to this final piece, it's very much worth it. So Bonnie Hunter does say she's now put this into a booklet. She says the booklet includes many different methods for making the units in the quilt and all the hints, tips, and tricks given during the mystery season. 27-page color illustrated booklet. She says her inspiration for this color theme came from the abundance of autumn beauty that surrounds me here in the beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains of Grayson County, Virginia. The quilt got its name from the road I call home, Grassy Creek. All right, so this one quilt, Susan made hers 85 by 100. If you follow the pattern, it's actually 94 by 94. The block sizes are 12 inches. And can you see the block right there? That is what the block is. This is, you really have to study this to see it. I think it pops out a little bit better on camera. But here is the block. So you have however many of those there are. I didn't even count. a lot, okay? And now the pattern is for a square quilt is what the pattern ends up being. Susan made hers more in a rectangle shape, 85 by 100. So whatever you're wanting to do, it's just the number of blocks that you're wanting to create. So here's your 12-inch block, and then the rest of this is sashing. So you can see, notice this right here. This is a secondary design that occurs in the sashing. So we have flying geese units in the sashing. Some are faced to the left, some are faced to the right. Those alternate across the quilt and also vertically as well. So this one are pointing up, the others are pointing down. Then this last flying geese unit, so these brown and blue units actually go with the block next to it. This last flying geese unit, instead of a flying geese, you're putting this red rectangle. And then the cornerstone, if you want to say, is a 9-patch with green and red in the center and white on the outside, but that's just a 9-patch block. When you put this row of sashing, the flying geese units, with this one block, with the red as the last one, with one cornerstone of a 9-patch, then you're getting that secondary pattern with the red square. Very, very pretty. So I mean, this would be a great stash buster. Now, Bonnie always does give you color choices when you're doing it. A lot of people change up the colors. You don't have to stick with what she suggests. But in order for the pattern to pop out, you might, until you're used to the way she runs hers, you may want to stick pretty close to her colors or make it contrasting. If she really has a good contrast in her fabrics, you'll want to make sure that you really have a good contrast in your fabric choices, because this piecing is so intricate. If you don't do the same contrast that she does, you may lose some of that. So very, very pretty. And then Susan has done a couple borders on this one. And let me show you, first of all, the pattern, because the borders on this pattern are a little different than what Susan did. I'll show that as close as I can. You can see the blue border going around, and notice down at the bottom how the border is done. And I don't know, those blocks around the border look pieced. I'm assuming they are, but Susan didn't choose to do hers that way. Instead, she did a couple of borders, but look how tiny this green, that first green border is. That finishes at a 1/4 inch, that little tiny green border. Then she's done a red one that finishes at about 1 inch, it looks like, and then this large floral border all around the outside edge. And then she has cornerstone blocks on all of the corners. And those are all the same. They may be different fabrics, but the color theme is all the same, and that is not on Bonnie Hunter's pattern. So that's something that Susan came up with on her own, just using, it's actually the same center block that you see here, but that she has done those on the corners for her border. All right, let me flip this over so you can see the back. Now, because Susan's quilt finish is so big, 85 by 100, she had to make a very big pieced backing, but she's done such a wonderful job. So she used one of those blocks that was on the front of the quilt. It's the exact same, so she made one extra one. She's added that floral print that was on the border on either side of that, and then she's done a nice job of just adding other colors in, some bigger pieces here, some blues, and then on both the top and the bottom, then she's added muslin as her final piece there. So you can see how nicely she did on this this backing fabric. And then you can see the pantograph very nicely on this one. I love seeing the texture on this. Let me just pop this up here. And again, when you have just muslin or a solid color, you can see the pantograph so well on the back. So this pantograph is called Whisper, and Whisper has a spiral, a tighter spiral than we just saw on the other one, but it comes to a point and then it spirals back out. On the backbone of that spiral, then we have the feather motif. And I like this one because it has a couple just little circles. We have a small circle, a larger circle, and then we're doing that same spiral, but it's going in the opposite direction this time. Comes to a point, spins out, and then on the back, as it's coming back around, on the backbone of that spiral, you're doing your feather there with a couple circles. So this nests in very nicely together. You can see how one circle from the row above comes very close to the circle below, so it looks really nice and cohesive. The feather shape comes up nicely in the negative space of the row above it. I did this in the Omni cream color with the muslin color on the back, all the busy prints on the front. The cream really blends into everything and looks very nice. So this pantograph has nice coverage. I didn't make this super small, again, because of all the piecing on the front. But we wanted something nice and flowy because we've got all of those straight lines, all those intricate piecing. Just wanted something nice and soft and flowy. And so this one probably is 6 inches, I would guess, is the height of this pantograph. But because it nests in so well together, it really covers a really nice coverage, and just keeping it very soft and flowy over that quilt. So very, very pretty. So you'll want to mark your calendar for November of this year and get in on Bonnie Hunter's Mystery Quilt Along each year, or you can go back and find the patterns and purchase the patterns and work on one now. So Susan did a great job. Both of her quilts are very beautiful.